In this demo, I will go over how to use the flow along surface command to create threads for a tire. The first thing I want to do here is change the display mode to the shaded display mode. And here we have this layer with a red color. So when I'm working on a file, I never use colors because it makes it a little difficult to read what's actually happening. So first thing I want to do, go up here, change the color to black. So now all of our objects are using the black display color. Now there's a lot going on here, so I'm going to clean up the file really quickly because this file is a little heavy and it's going to get heavier too. So I'm thinking ahead, this is going to be a problem because it's a very heavy file, and as we keep on working on this file, it's going to get heavier and become more of an issue. So there's already a lot built here. And the first thing I noticed as I was looking at this file is this surface, right? It's built in a few different ways, so we have to pick, which surface we want to flow along. And here, if I show the point of this specific surface, first of all, it doesn't work. I need to explode it first. But then, when I show the points of this tire surface that I would want to use to create threads, you can see that the surface is much bigger than it needs to be. And in some cases this is okay, but in this specific case what happens is what we're going to do is we're going to use another command, and you will see that this could be an issue. So the command we are going to use is called create UV curve. So create UV curve is the command I want to use here, and if I click on create UV curve, let's go to the help. Here it is. So you can find this command under curve from objects, and create UV curves. So this is where you would find this, and when you use this command, what the software does is it generates this outline. Let's see, escape. Okay, so it generates this outline, and here you can see there isn't one outline, there's two. Why is there two outlines? That's because one of them is the actual surface, the outer one is the surface, and the inner one is the trimmed part of the surface. So typically we don't want to use a trimmed surface, especially when there's such an offset. It's almost half of the surface that's being trimmed. So the first thing I would do here is use a shrink to trim, because when we flow along surface, we need a reference surface first, and here we don't know which one to use. Do we use the untrimmed one or the trimmed one? And it can make the whole process a little more difficult. So let's select this surface, and we will use the shrink trimmed surface command. Here it is, shrink trimmed surface, and I like to type in all of my commands, so I honestly don't know where to find this command. It looks like it's under surface edit tools, and here, shrink trimmed surface. So this is where you would find this command, and what this command does is it looks at all the points that make up this surface. It looks at where the surface is trimmed, and it will adjust the control points for this surface. And essentially the reason why we want to do this is because then the UV of that surface are the smaller outline, not the bigger one. So it makes it a little easier for us to create a pattern, make it the right dimensions, and it just speeds up the whole process and makes it more accurate. So another thing that's really good about using the create UV curve is it looks at the circumference of the circle, right? The size when we take this circle and we flatten it out. And this could be really useful, right? Because we want to know how long the pattern needs to be. So this does it automatically for us. It calculates what's the length of the pattern. And then of course using this we need to make sure it repeats, because otherwise where the pattern begins and ends we will have some strange gap or overlap. So we need to be aware of where the pattern begins and ends. And here the first thing you will see is the whole pattern is sideways, right? It is 90 degrees to the surface that we want to flow along, which is a little bit strange, right? So sometimes I would rotate either the surface or the UV curve, But for the sake of the demo, let's keep it as it is. Let's create a reference surface. I will use Loft. Click on two curves, and now we have a base reference surface. So we want a pattern on top of this, and then we can apply the pattern from this surface to this more complex surface. And here we have a pattern that we want to use, but it's already relatively complex. We have this outline that's been cut out of it, and essentially it shows the result that we are kind of looking for. But if we are creating this pattern on top of this other surface, we don't need it to have this curvature yet. We can create the whole pattern and then trim this circular outline. So let's do that. Let's start with the flattened out pattern. And where is this flattened out pattern? Here it is. Okay, so we have one of them. What's going on here? So this is not the same pattern as this pattern here. Okay, so let's use this pattern and let's make some modifications to it. We'll look at the perspective view. Let's ungroup everything. I will just type it in, ungroup. But of course you can find ungroup under edit, group. And here you have group and ungroup. And here we have a bunch of surfaces. We never want surfaces, we want polysurfaces. So surfaces are going to create a bunch of issues for a bunch of different reasons. So this will make the software work even harder because there's just so much information, and sometimes you have a surface where there doesn't need to be a surface. Like here you have basically two surfaces when it should just intersect and be one. Same thing with the outer outline. So you're making the software work a lot harder. So with that in mind, how do we simplify this? Let's just explode the whole thing. Let's untrim all. And this is more of what we want. We don't want any of that stuff. We just want that. Okay. So let's simplify this pattern because right now it's a little crazy. There's a lot of overlap. And let's figure out how we can make this just simpler. This is not going to work. Okay, this is really good. So we can use that, we can use this, we can use that. Let's join everything here. And this intersects. We don't want this to intersect. Okay, this pattern is really complex and doesn't need to be this complex. So first of all, I'm going to delete half of it because we can mirror the other half. So there's no point in creating so much complexity. But before I delete it, I want to go back and create a straight line. So this will give me some kind of center axis, some kind of reference of where I want to mirror this pattern. Okay, let's delete everything we do not need. And let's go back and figure out what we do want to keep. So this is crazy out here. You've got so many overlaps. We really don't want that. I mean, the first thing is you have to spend the time and get this pattern to actually make sense. And initially this pattern did not make sense. So we do have to tweak it and try to get better results. Now there's easy ways to do that. For example, I can take this, I can move it, let's see, F9. Move it up here. So maybe I want it to be 1 instead of 2. So I can join all of these surfaces together. I can show the points, and it doesn't work because it's joined. Okay, let's just show the points after it is exploded. And I mean, we could revert back to a curve, and that would even make it easier. And yeah, maybe that's a better way actually. Just work from curves instead of using these existing surfaces. Plus, if you use curves, then you can extrude it as a solid, as opposed to extruding it and then using CAP or cutting it with a surface. Yeah, so this should do the job for what we're trying to do. So now we have a better pattern. We have these here. Let's join them together. And what is this? Why does this pop out like that? That does not make sense. Let's copy this and let's see if we can just put this up here. Actually, we don't need to because we have this one. Okay, so let's delete this crazy one and let's just keep these surfaces instead. We can join these, make sure the gap makes sense. Okay, so now we have a pattern. The pattern is just... Wait, what? When we join it, it does this? That's interesting. Huh. That's a crazy bug. Join. And is it because of the degrees? It's probably because of the degrees. Yeah. So there is this bug when you use degree 2. Oh, this is degree 1, okay. But it's degree 1 in the correct orientation, so it should be okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Typically it doesn't do that, so there must be something with the degrees. Maybe it's the degrees of this curve, degree 3, that's okay. Let's just type in rebuild, degree 3. Huh. It should be okay. Oh, yeah, this one it said something a little strange here, degree 1, 2 points. Okay, that's okay. It seems okay, so I'm not sure why when I joined them it did that strange, it behaved in a strange way. Let's join this again. So first things first, your pattern has to be created in a way that's relatively optimal because we're creating a lot of surfaces, and then we're actually manipulating the the surface themselves along the surface, which is, it's a heavy process, right? It demands a lot of memory. So I deleted one thing I did not want to delete, this one, okay. I wanted to make sure I keep this because this is my mirror axis. Okay, so that's the pattern we want to use. Let's align it. Let's align it to this reference surface. So maybe it's not the right size. If it's not, you can go here, scale it in 1 dimension. If you don't know where to find scale, it's under transform and scale. You can use scale 1D, maybe scale 2D. Let's scale in 2 dimensions. Let's use this point. I'm using this smart track so I can select the midpoint and then move the cursor, align it to a more center position to my geometry, and I can make changes. So this should do the job. So now we need to repeat this pattern multiple times. So we can select it, we can try to figure out what's the distance between these patterns. It looks like the distance would be from, let's say, the furthest point to the next furthest point, which would be somewhere up here. So this is just about the distance between each of the repeating pattern, right? So it changes. Here this is one pattern, here this is a different pattern, but the spacing between them is around this proportion. So now that we know that, we can create an array, and there's multiple arrays. The one I typically use is the regular array for something like this, and here you would have the option for the X, Y, and Z. So to do this, you just look down here, it's on the X. We don't know how many we need, but looking at the spacing, we can tell it's more than 10, so let's just do twice as much, something like 20. Y1 and Z1, so I can just press enter, that's okay. 20 repeats, and now I need to set up the spacing. So the spacing is from this point to this point, and it looks like the spacing is going to create some issues. We want it to be twice as much. So that's my mistake, but to fix that I can use mirror this proportion to the other side, so now it's twice as long. And let's repeat the process. Array, press enter, and for the X we want 20 repeats. Y1, Z1, press enter twice, and this is the spacing we want. Okay. And here it is, so we have more than we need, so that's okay, we can delete that. And now we need to figure out where this pattern repeats, so where do we cut it up? So let's delete this and try to figure out what we want. So here, let's see, this one is a single piece, this one is two pieces, so let's see how does it repeat. This is one, and we want the next repeating one to be this two piece. Okay, so that's good. Now let's see, where would we want this to repeat? Let's find a point, something like this. Now we have some kind of reference point we can use. And let's define an other repeating point, so I guess it would be this. Yes. So up here, okay. So now we can see where it repeats based on these two repeating elements of this pattern. So I'm spending a lot of time doing this stuff. Honestly, it's not... It is important, but this is not what I wanted to focus on for this video. So I'm gonna try to speed up the process, and I'm just gonna butcher this pattern by simply scaling it in one dimension, because this is simply too time consuming. So the way we would do this, if we want to speed up the process, would be to group the entire pattern. And it's giving me a hard time with these lines. Okay. So let's do that. Let's group the entire pattern. We will select this line and align it to this edge. And I just made a mistake because I forgot to select this. So let's just move it the opposite direction since we're looking at this curve. So we know that this should repeat up here, and this is it. That should do the job, right? Let's see, how does this repeat? Okay, let's check it out. So if we scale in one dimension, we can adjust the pattern from this line to this corner. So now we can see how this is cut up here, and how it is cut up back here. So it continues, it repeats. The problem with this is up here we're cutting it right at the edge, so we have to really pay close attention to this. It seems okay. Yeah, it seems okay. If this was moved a little more, this would cause an issue, because every time you have this surface and it gets so close to this edge, it could create some issues. And again, it makes the software work a lot harder, which is not what we want for a complex pattern. Now, if it was a simpler pattern, I would spend the extra time and really, make it work. But this is complex enough. So let's go in, trim anything that goes beyond this line, and do the same thing on the other side. Trim this. So here you go. This is the first problem that you have to solve when you create tire threads. You have to make sure your pattern makes sense. Let's ungroup this, delete anything up here. So now we have a pattern that can be used, and we still have to work on it because it's not closed. It's a little unfinished. So we will have to go in and do a loft, close off this edge. We want this to be basically a solid. It's easier to make everything a solid because later on you would use this pattern to actually remove from the tire or add onto the tire. So you can use a Boolean union or Boolean divide if you make it a solid. Now if you don't make it a solid, it makes the whole process a little more difficult. Okay, so to close out all of these shapes, because they seem to be straight, I would use CAP, which is the cap planar hole command, and let's hope everything worked out. No, it didn't. Yeah, I was hoping that it would close off every single one of these shapes, but it did not, so we have to repeat the cap command. It looks like we're going to have to do the same thing here. Join CAP to cap. Okay, and cap is under solid, right? You go under solid, cap planar holes. Here it is, cap planar holes. You should be familiar with these commands at this time. So here we have a pattern, it's a little too large, so let's go in and make some minor changes to it. We will center it to our reference plane. Let's use F9 so we can snap to the grid. Okay. And we can scale the dimension so it makes a little more sense. Scale it in one dimension. Again, we can use the grid. Grid is on. We can scale it from this dimension to something a little smaller. Okay, so we have our pattern. Let's join it into a group. So I can select the pattern itself, group it, so you can use edit group, or you can type in the command, or you can also, where is it, group, yeah, you can use control, yeah, the shortcut. Alright, there's two shortcuts for group and ungroup. You can use that as well, and that's it. So what did we do so far? We created, we used the create UV curve, created this reference plane. We made sure that it was, you know, a shrinked trimmed surface, so a single surface with all of the control points going all the way to the edge, as opposed to a trimmed surface, which may create some issues. And we created this pattern, which is one group. And there's no overlap between this pattern, right? It's an optimized geometry that we are using everywhere. So now we want to map this pattern onto this tire. So we will use the flow along surface. Flow along surface. I don't even know where to find it because I always type it in, but you will find it under transform, flow along curve, flow along surface. So we want to use the flow along surface command. And the first thing you will see here is it is asking you to select object to flow along surface. So the object is this group. So that's the reason why we grouped everything, because now we can click once, select the entire pattern. Okay, press enter. Base surface. So the base surface would be this reference surface that we created, and we know that the circumference and the overall area of the surface basically matches the area of this revolved surface. So it's really important to create the UV and then create a surface because you can use it as a base surface. So let's click on this surface, and the target surface would be the surface we want to use. So this one. Now we have to wait, you know, it takes some time, and this is the result that we get. So we have a pattern, it repeats, it goes all the way around the tire, but it's obviously not what we want. It is close to what we want, but it's not exactly what we want. So then we would use an outline and just trim it out, right? Trim the thread that we want. So let's do that really quickly, just so that you get an idea of what this would look like. Now, another thing I forgot to mention, which is really important here, is when you're working on such a complex file, you can use layers and organize your layer and hide what you don't want to look at or work on at the time. Or you can select the object that you are working on, and you can expand this window up here, and you can click on this button here, which says Isolate Objects. So if you click here, what it will do is it will hide anything that is not selected. So this is really useful, and if you want to make the rest of the object visible once again, then you would click up here and show the objects. So you can show the object, you can select what you're working on, and you can hide anything selected, or you can select it and you can hide anything that is not selected. So this is really useful when your file is getting heavy and you really want to focus on, you know, parts of your scene, and just, you know, not everything at once. You don't want to see too many things at once. It's a little overwhelming. So now we have this as a group. We can also hide or show the group, or we can create a new layer. Let's create a new layer and call it threads. And let's assign the selection. Change object layer, so we changed all of the selection to the thread layer. We can also reorganize the layers. It's always good to be very organized. So now let's look at the profile that we want to use, and there's a few ways to do that. One easy way would be to use the duplicate curve. I usually type in this command, but it's under here, under surface, edge tools. Wait, no, it's under the curve. Again, I typically type in this command, so this is why it's difficult for me to find it here. It's called duplicate edge. Whatever, I'm used to typing it in, so I will just type it in, dup edge. Press enter, and if we want to find out where it's at, where was it? Curve from object. So curve curve from object, it's somewhere up here, duplicate edge, duplicate border. So in this case I want to use duplicate edge. So let's type in on this edge, press enter, now we have a curve. I can go from the top side, and I can scale this curve in 1 dimension. Okay, press F9 to remove the grid snap. You can also click here. You don't want to use grid snap at this point. And let's say we want the threads to go out this much. So here we can revolve. Let's think about this for a second. Yeah, so we can revolve this. And let's use this center point. Okay. Start angle 0, 360. Yes. Okay. So there's a few ways to do that. We can trim anything from the outside, or maybe this might work, I'm not sure. Let's move this to, let's say, 10 units. Oh, that's a lot. 1 unit. Let's copy this by 1 unit. And let's join this surface and the other surface. Type in join, or just simply click on this icon to join. And let's move this back in place, 1 unit. So now we have this solid, and we still have the surface underneath. So we have a duplicate surface, but one is a solid, the other one is a placeholder surface. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because now I can use a Boolean union, or I should say a Boolean operation, to only keep what's between the volume inside this solid. So we can go up here and we can use this one here, Boolean intersection. And you could do this so many different ways, right? You can keep it as a surface and trim each of these one by one, which is really time consuming. You can also create your pattern in a way that is a solid, right? And then when it wraps around, the solid becomes part of it. This is a little easier to simply use the Boolean instead. So let's do that. Let's select the first one, this solid, press enter, select the second pattern, this grouped pattern, press enter, and if it worked correctly it should keep anything that is intersecting within the 2 volumes, so both volumes should become a single volume. It should work in this case. It's just going to take some time because it is complex, right? There is a lot to this pattern, there's many surfaces, so hopefully it will work. Now sometimes the technique you may need to use is break it up into quarters or halves, and this will help make the whole, the time it takes to calculate the mesh, it will make it quicker. So here you go, now we have threads. This may not be the best threads, but for the sake of a demo I think it works. Now if you wanted to, you could spend more time, get better details. Maybe you want to create a nice fillet, and it seems like it did a very nice job. Now if we wanted to, we can also make it a solid and do a Boolean union and make it a little better still. We can keep working on it and get better results. But for the sake of this demo, I think you get the idea. This is the basic workflow that I would suggest that you do use when you're creating threads. Now there are many other techniques that you can use. You can, instead of creating threads that go out, you can make them go in, right? It's kind of like choosing whether you want to deboss or emboss. So that's another technique you can use to get other types of threads, and you can even do both. You can have threads that are both debossed and embossed into the tire, and this may give you even more complex results and better results. So yeah, it's up to you which workflow you want to use, but this is definitely one of the best ways to create threads for a tire